was concerned with that background music. Hello?
I'm here.
I'm just about to start the audio. They're having a private conversation right now. I just don't want it to be heard by the public.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. It's just two members at the table.
FYI, everyone, I will be on here the whole time, but my son has dropped off his puppy here, so there might be some, I'm going to put myself on mute a lot of the time. Are we about ready to start?
Carl, is Marianne there at the boardroom?
Can you hear us?
Morning. I can't hear anyone in the boardroom. On
Yeah,
Zoom, all I
maybe-
can hear is Director Worthy and Jeanette.
I can't hear
Good
anyone in
morning,
the
this is
boardroom.
Tony.
Okay. There must be a problem with the audio in the boardroom.
Okay, I'm gonna turn off my video and I'm gonna try to get a hold of Marianne. She's supposed to chair this meeting.
Oh, she is.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, hold on.
Good morning, this is Tony. Can someone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Tony. I think all of us are heard, but we're not hearing everyone in the boardroom.
Everyone that's on the phone and teleconferencing can hear you, Tony. It's just the boardroom right now. Did you hear that, Tony? It's me, Jeanette.
Yes, Janet, I was worried because I couldn't hear the puppy. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna put myself on mute. This is Jeanette. I'm gonna try to get a hold of Marianne Carbone.
Yeah.
No, but I don't think they can hear us.
Test. You can hear, Michelle?
Michelle, unmute and see if
Okay,
we can hear you. Say
unmute and
something.
see.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes. Okay, Ezekiel,
Yes.
ready to go.
Okay.
Okay, we were going to start with, when you last tuned in, we were at our roll call. So Jeanette, could you start roll call again? If you are there. Jeanette, unmute yourself and begin roll call.
Jeanette was
Hi,
going to.
it's me, Jeanette. I was trying to get a hold of Marianne. Is she on the phone?
No, she's here in person.
Oh, okay, great. Okay.
Pretty sure it's Marianne.
Oh, okay. So Marianne, were you able to get your hard copy of the agenda there in the boardroom?
Jeanette, please start roll call.
Okay. So Director Barron,
Here.
Director Worthy,
Present.
Director Emilio is absent, Director Barrera,
Here?
Director Carbone,
Here.
and Director Velasquez is absent. You have a quorum.
Okay, we'll move on to item 2, public comments. And members of the public wishing to address the committee on matters not on any items related to the jurisdiction of MST, not appearing on the agenda, may do so at this time for 3 minutes. Comments on any other matter of the agenda will be welcome at the time the matter is being considered by the board. So public comment is open. Jeanette, do you have any hands or seen anyone from the public?
Or Scott, do we have any members of the public with their hands raised?
There are none.
Okay, you're ready. There's no one here.
And no one here, so we'll go ahead and close public comment. There is none, and we'll move on to the consent agenda, item 3.1. Before we go out to the public, were there any questions from the board on the items of the consent agenda? No. Okay, if not, let's go ahead and open it up to the public.
Scott, is there anyone in the public raising their hands on the consent agenda?
There's none.
Oh, we'll go ahead and bring it back to the board. I'm looking, the consent agenda just consists of routine items which the board can approve with a single motion and vote.
Move to approve.
Mo-
Consent agenda.
Second.
as-
Thank you. We have a first and second.
So the first was from Lorraine Worthy, the second was from Tony Barrera, for those keeping score.
Okay. Jeanette, roll call vote, please.
Jeanette, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Director Barron,
Yes.
Director Worthy,
Aye.
Director Barrera,
Yes.
and Director Carbone.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passed.
Okay. We'll move on to action items, item 4, and they consist of routine business, which requires a vote by the board. And at this time, let's start off with a staff report on item 4.1. And this is Carl, I believe you're going to introduce this item.
Right, beginning on page 81 of your packet, you'll have my general manager report, which concludes the dashboards where we are. While we're still responding or recovering from the pandemic, as our community recovers, our ridership is, of course, much higher than it was in the previous year, but still below where we were pre-COVID. And we've been using, as a comparison, the 3-year average ridership 3 years prior to COVID to compare our ridership to. We're still at less than 50% of our ridership pre-COVID. Now, it's important to note that pre-COVID, we did have very active partnership with the Defense Language Institute, which comprised almost a quarter of our ridership at its height. And during COVID, the base closed its gates and they've not renewed our partnership. And we'll probably have to wait until a new base commander is appointed before we can open those discussions again, because the current base commander is just not interested, and we've reached out a number of times. We have entered into agreements with Hartnell College and MPC and the Cal State Monterey Bay for ridership incentives for their students. We're going to bring some contracts to your board probably within the next month to discuss those types of projects. So there are efforts afoot to replace that ridership that was from the DLI. And when we get some new command there, we may reach out to them again as we await that. Our experience to date is not very different from our peers, both nationally and regionally. They're running in the range of 40 to 60% of pre-COVID numbers. Really depends on how their local economies are recovering. Other than that, from a financial perspective, we're continuing to do well. From a safety perspective, we're doing well. Operationally, from a reliability standpoint, we're still within standard. On-time performance is within standard. So, how we're doing our work is falling within our standards. It's really just a matter of filling the buses. We've been trying to do some advertising you may have seen regarding high gas prices to see if that's pushing the needle. One thing for the month of March, these numbers only go through February in your board report, but more currently, March, we had the highest ridership on MST rides since the shelter in place occurred. We had over 8,000 passengers in a month. That's the highest since the shelter in place. It's still not at pre-COVID levels, but those necessary trips for dialysis and for medical appointments and treatments by our disabled community are coming back at a much more robust rate than the general ridership is occurring. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
At this time, anyone from the committee questions? For Carl? None? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and take this out to the public. Public comments open. Anyone from the public?
There's no one from the public.
Okay, we'll close public comment and bring it back for board discussion and action. So before you, board members, any discussion on this, further discussion? And if not,
Move to approve.
Actually, there's no action on this, is
Yeah,
there?
receive report.
okay,
Just receiving the report, yeah.
sorry.
It's okay.
So, motion to receive a report, thank you. Do we need a second on that? Or no?
You don't even
No.
need.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
Yeah, the
Okay.
report was received.
okay.
I wasn't on mute, was I?
Okay. Okay, we'll take this to item 4.2, review Salinas operations and maintenance facility analyst update. Lisa Reinheimer will be giving a report.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, committee members. I am going to give you an update on the Salinas operations and maintenance facility, but no action is needed. You can certainly ask me questions, but no action required on your part. So currently MST operates and maintains its buses out of 3 locations, actually 4 locations. One is here in Monterey at the Monterey Operations and Maintenance Facility, Monterey Bay Operations and Maintenance Facility. The Clarence J. Wright Operations and Maintenance Facility, also the Salinas Operations and Maintenance Facility. The South County facility in King City, as well as our contracted services, are operated out of the former Fort Ord on property that's leased by the U.S. Army. For MV transportation purposes, it's the rides program and some of the fixed route services that you see with the smaller buses. So focusing in on Salinas, the current location has been in operation since the 1980s, and we've conducted a few repairs and rehabilitation projects over the years, but it was really planned for only 23 buses, and we have quite a few more than that at that location at the moment. So our capacity to grow at that facility and serve the Salinas, general Salinas area and beyond is stifled because we are in a small facility. It's about 2.3 acres. And the facility at the Joe Lloyd Way site in the former Fort Ord is leased by MST from the U.S. Army, who has expressed interest in seeing us out of there. So it's largely a temporary facility for us over the next 3 to 5 years. So to resolve these 2 issues of the Joe Lloyd Way site as well as the Salinas site, we have a request for proposals right now that's out on the street. We want to hear from consulting companies to help us go through a fixed facility analysis, as well as start the planning process to review those options, as well as preliminary engineering, preliminary architectural, as well as CEQA and NEPA, federal and state environmental compliance. So once we receive those consulting proposals, we'll do our evaluation and come back to the full board with a proposed consulting firm to help us through that process, which will take a good 18 months to 2 years to complete. So that concludes what I wanted to say, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Directors, any questions?
Yes. What is the goal of the consulting process? To find a replacement for those 2 facilities?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's to evaluate the options out there to see if there's a location suitable for both of those services to be operated from. So the beginning phase is to conduct what's called a fixed facility analysis per federal requirements, we need to make sure that any facility that we locate and find does not disproportionately impact specific populations under Title VI. So that'll be the first phase. And then once we identify a location, the consulting firm will help us through the rest of the process,
Thank you.
including right-of-way services.
Thank you. Any other directors? Not seeing any, Lisa, thank you for your report.
Thank you. I'll stay here because I have the
And
next
yes,
one.
you're next. So, 4.3, receive, serve, busway and rapid transit.
Public comment.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, at this time, let me open this up to public comment. And this
There's
is
no public comment.
item 4.2.
She said there's no public.
Okay, but no public comment, we'll close. Thank you, Jeanette, and we'll, thank you, Lisa, and we'll move on to item 4.3. And Lisa? this is you?
Yes, thank you. So the SURF busway and bus rapid transit project will be involved in a significant amount of public outreach starting in late May, early June along the corridor. And what we're working on right now is developing some landscape and architectural design options to go out to the public. So you may have been involved in some type of sort of compare and contrast options of what things might look like in other planning processes. So specifically, we're looking at urban landscape and plants options, as well as what the Fifth Street station might look like, including the bus shelter facilities. We'll have some options for the public to take a look at, as well as bicycle and pedestrian options at those locations. So we're developing an online platform to help engage with the public so that people don't necessarily have to come to any of our on-site or in-person meetings, but they can also engage in that process through an on-site engagement tool. So we're working with our consultants in that regard, and we'll ask that the board help us with distribution of information as to potential meetings and also pushing out the public engagement platform. So a lot coming up, and we really hope that our public outreach component helps to inform the public about what's happening with this project, but also get the feedback that we need to make sure that the project is in line with what the folks in Marina and Seaside Sand City area want as far as their public infrastructure. So with that, I'll stop there and answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, any questions?
I'm not seeing any.
Okay. Let's see, so you're gonna want this jurisdictions to try and do some outreach within their jurisdictions.
What I would envision is a little less intensive than that. We'll send out an email and let you take it from there. And if you want to forward the email to your constituents, to folks, that's up to you. We'll also be doing a significant amount of social media outreach. So I don't see it as, a lot of, I try not to put boards in the position where they're doing my work, just a forward of, an email.
But I think we would encourage you, if there are specific groups you want to be reached, please do that with this project. You know your constituencies probably better than we do. So if there are groups, we'll be trying to do the heavy lifting, but we think the board probably has I'm certain, not probably, I'm certain it knows your constituencies better than we do and can target people of interest that we may be missing. So that's, I think, what we would be looking for.
Okay. I'm just thinking that we do have websites where we
Right.
put things, place items, so if we could have that information, so we could, get that out there.
And I would say for board members representing the South County cities, please don't think of this as just a peninsula zone marina to Monterey, Carmel by the Sea project, because we know and there are daily passengers that we are aware of coming from Soledad, Greenfield, every day, taking the bus to jobs in Seaside. And this project will help them move faster and be more direct and better service. So, don't assume because the physical infrastructure isn't being built in your particular community. There are members of your community, especially if they work in low-income jobs and hospitality and others on the peninsula. They will benefit from this project. So.
Thank you, Kurt. With that, if there are not any more questions or comments from the board, we'll take this out to the public. Public comment is open.
I'm not seeing any.
Okay. We'll close public comment. And thank you. We will go ahead and move on to item 4. And this is Lisa again, review proposed fare changes.
Thank you again. Aren't you glad I didn't conduct a death by PowerPoint? Anyway, so the fare changes are proposed here are the result of the MST board approving the comprehensive operational analysis final network plan in February, where the board asks staff to go back and develop an option for a new fare structure that would support the final network plan. So just for your information about the actual plan itself, that's likely to be implemented later on this fall, but there are a lot of steps that need to happen before full implementation, including a fare change to support how that plan will be implemented. So in other words, the new plan requires quite a few transfers. So we wanted to make sure that the transfers would not penalize our customers from a financial standpoint when this new plan is implemented. So for example, someone from Salinas that works at the aquarium would be required to have a transfer, and under our proposed fare structure, they would not pay 2 fares, they would pay just 1. So the proposed and current fare structure is found on page 66 of the MST board packet. And so a cross-departmental group of MST staff met to review and examine possibilities here. And what you'll see is that our existing fare structure is $1.50, $2.50, and $3.50, depending on which route you take based on distance. So we currently have just a few $1.50 routes, and then the rest of them are $2.50 or $3.50. So the impact to this fare change is pretty minimal. So what we're proposing is a $2 for 2 hours fare. So for the vast majority of our customers, it'll be a decrease in fare. And this will allow for those transfers to occur without having to pay an extra fare for that extra trip, or that second trip, or the third trip, depending on how much time it takes to get from the first, the second, or third bus. So the only 2 lines, or I'm sorry, the only 2 services that would be affected are line 3, which is on the peninsula at $1.50, and on-call services in the South County cities as well as Marina. Those would be a 50-cent increase. So with the concurrence of the full board, we would engage in public outreach over the next 6 to 8 weeks, including an online survey, public events that we normally go to. We can send that out via postcard, and then To be on the safe side, we are proposing that we conduct at least 2 public hearings, one on the Monterey Peninsula and one in Salinas or South County, to deal with that 150 fare change to $2. With that, I'll stop there and answer any questions that you may have.
Wasn't your fault.
Still feels like.
Telling no. Questions at this time?
Assisted orthopedic surgery.
I think someone needs to be put on mute.
Yeah, I see.
They are.
I've muted him.
Thanks. Okay, I have a question, Lisa. If I can. Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you,
Yes,
Lorraine.
go ahead,
Okay,
Lorraine.
sorry. So when, according to the report, when are we going to start outreach? I'm sorry, I misunderstood that part. You must have said it, but I didn't hear it.
Well, we'll start outreach after the board authorizes us to go for outreach.
Okay.
That's a little bit of preliminary work, including an online survey. But then we'd also have information about that online survey at our public events. So I put this survey as May 1st through 31st, but that can change. But we wanted to come to the board first to let you know that we're doing public outreach per your previous direction in February before we do that. And, you know, if you have groups that you want us to specifically reach out to, we're more than happy to do that.
Okay, we have a kiosk and I thought that would be a good spot for it. Okay, great. Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, we'll open this up to public comment. Public comment is open.
I've seen nobody with their hand raised.
No, okay. We'll go ahead and close public comment and thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll go ahead and move on to item 4.5. This is to receive an update on South County fixed planning and implementation. And Sloan, welcome.
Yes, good morning, Chair, and apologize, my voice is a little hoarse right now for some reason. But thank you. This is to give you an update. There's no action needed on this, on the planning efforts going on for the approved proposal by your board to shift on-call services to fixed route services in each of the 4 South County cities. That's Soledad, Gonzales, Greenfield, and King City. Your board approved the South County service plan back in April of 2021. And this part of this proposal was to shift the on-call services to fixed route circulators to be operating on 30-minute frequencies. The design idea behind this is to have these circulators connect with the new line 23 that would be essentially straightened out and sped up, and in order for our South County customers to have a more efficient means of getting up to the into Salinas and then to the rest of the district. What this requires, though, is a rather large infrastructural planning effort that we've been undertaking to install bus stops. These bus stops have to be ADA compliant, and they have to conform to, or we would like them as best possible to conform to our Designing for Transit guidelines, which is a document that, under my understanding, that was approved or adopted by this board in 2020. This effort is also consistent with the comprehensive operational analysis final network plan, which was passed which was adopted, excuse me, by your board in February 2022. And what this requires is an ongoing planning effort and collaboration with MST staff and South County city staff. And I'm here today to update you on that process and how it's been going. We experienced some delays in 2021 because we were a little uncertain about where we were sitting with COVID and where we were sitting with the ongoing coach operator shortage. And so things got reprioritized, but these are going forward. The procedural idea here is for the South County cities to essentially go to bid for this project for each of these as a whole for all the bus stops that have been cited and that went through extensive public commenting and review processes. And then have each council of the South County cities approve a contract once there is a satisfactory bid in place and an agreed upon cost. Of course, this is raising issues related to parking and mostly parking, I would say, actually, because a lot of the bus stop sightings are proposing to remove a fair amount of parking depending on where they're located. I'd be happy to give you summaries, but we're talking about a total of 88 bus stops that we are trying to implement across the 4 cities. Each of the 4 cities received a detailed scope of work for each bus stop to be cited in December with the request from MST staff to receive either a cost estimate or a bid or to go out to bid. The thought process in pushing it out to bid would be to obtain the cost and then streamline that into a city council approval, granted, as long as MST and the city were satisfied with the cost. To date, well, I should say, since writing the staff report that's in your agenda packet now, there have been some changes in information. Some cities have re-engaged and decided to collaborate a little bit more with their city staff. But I would like to just state that the city of King City is the only city right now that is actually pursuing some type of bid at this time. We're expecting that to come back within probably about a week or two. The city of Greenfield has also expressed some interest in getting a bid after review of the final siting. They wanted to go back and go through some iterations again, at least city staff did. I stressed the fact that I was in those meetings, and I stressed the fact that we have already gone through these iterations, and so we were really reluctant to change. And this is coming from a motion of this board and an action of this board. And we're trying to stay consistent with the plan as best as possible. As of writing this staff report, MST staff had not received a response from City of Gonzales or the City of Soledad. That has since changed, but we do need full cooperation from them in order to accomplish this project. It's a challenging project because every city has a different procedure, somewhat different procedure, but we are attempting to unify them in some way, to whether that's through a joint procurement or a joint contract of some kind. We're exploring mechanisms for doing that at this time. As of right now, where everything stands and rolling in MST's considerations for how to pull off a service change and things like that, we are tentatively looking at hopefully implementing by the end of the year, so long as we can get the infrastructure placed. Now, I will say, from all cities as well, all infrastructure, that is all 88 bus stops, may not be put in place. And the reason for that is because there's some siting considerations that will simply require very much larger planning efforts. the road may not be conducive to a bus stop, or we may have to look at, say, traffic studies or a traffic pattern, and that just simply takes more time. The idea behind MST's staff actions here is to push through as many bus stops as possible. And I will say that those stops that are requiring heavier planning or have larger planning efforts, they are few. So we would still have a robust circulator service. And with that, that is my update for you. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. Yes, Sloan, from what I understand, you have a meeting today at 4 o'clock with Patrick Dobbins, our planning from Gonzales. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And also, Patrick had some concerns, and one of the questions that he asked me was, does MST have a project manager for this? Would you be the project manager on this project?
Essentially, yes, I am the project manager for this.
I guess one of his concerns was he felt that that perhaps it might be beneficial, and I'm just repeating what he said to me, for MST to perhaps have a design consultant for these types of improvements instead of relying on city staff. You know, we just FYI for everyone in the room right now, Gonzales is going to be going through some changes here pretty soon. I'm not sure if you've heard, but we can talk about that at a different time. So there are some issues right now, and we are doing some restructuring. So my hope today is that when you speak with Patrick, he and you can come up with some type of agreement on this, because he's very good. So I was surprised when I saw in the report that you had not heard anything from Gonzales.
Director or Committee Member Worthy, thank you for your comments and for this information. And yes, I also want to stress that our staff is sensitive to other cities, perhaps staffing challenges that we've been experiencing them here ourselves. We can definitely look into a consultant. I would just say that that's going to, of course, add cost to the project likely. But that is something that that I will talk with Patrick today about. So.
Right. And I did express to him that, you know, he can put this out to bid. So, but there is some legwork that the city staff has to do. So anyway, thank you very much for the report. And I have been in contact with Patrick about this, so he's aware. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, just FYI, I have floated the idea to a couple of the city managers because I had reached out a week before this memo was issued, because I wanted to give everyone a fair chance to respond. I think it was after the memo was issued, and perhaps some of our board members read the memo, that we did get some response from staff. But I did float the idea to the city managers that it's not uncommon practice to do a joint procurement among jurisdictions, you know, doing similar type of work in a similar area. King City, you know, has put together a procurement already for their city. It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for the other South County cities to piggyback in some fashion or duplicate that in some fashion to relieve some of their administrative burden. It's a practice that we in transit use, you know, pretty much on everything we buy. We're using the procurement documents of somebody else. So I would encourage your cities to consider that type of solution, so that you're just all not doing the same administrative work independently of one another.
Thank you, Carl. That's good advice. I will follow up with an email with him. And also today with Sloan, if you wouldn't mind kind of throwing that out as well with your meeting with him, I'd appreciate.
Yes, I can definitely do that. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for the information. And that's why I responded to him before this meeting. So, and he responded back. So thank you very much.
We appreciate having the update to this morning that we've received comments from all the cities. So,
That's correct. And thank you, committee members. And yes, Carl is correct. As of today, we have received responses from all the cities, and we are pushing the project forward.
I wonder why. Maybe because we all got on them today. Thank you very much for the report.
Jeff?
Thank you. What's the date that the service change is going to happen? Is it linked into the comprehensive changes?
that's what we'd like to do. We'd like
And
to
so what's
unveil a
that-
whole new service with this included.
And what's that date?
It's going to be dependent on our ability to have enough drivers. Right now, we're looking at the late fall, winter timeframe of 22, 23. So our goal is for the South County circulators, we think December. Sloan, you were thinking December is probably the earliest we think we could get this done. And it really depends on how quickly the cities can put this together. But we're going to attempt to get it all together. If it's not perfect, it's not perfect. And we don't want to, I don't want to delay the whole comprehensive operational analysis for this piece of it, but it would be preferable to have it all go at once.
So all four, so to sort of go down this rat hole a little bit, all four of the cities would change their service at the same time, though.
Yes.
That's what that would happen. And
Yeah.
so is it possible that you could find yourselves, that we could find ourselves, since we're all in this together, the situation where we've sort of have good results in 2 or 3 of the cities and not so good results in 1 or 2 of the cities, and we're sort of, you know, trying to make a decision about whether we're going to change the service or not?
It's possible. I mean, if we had one city, and that was a discussion, I frankly, we had that discussion with our staff. If we had one city that was not prepared to move forward, do we continue the program? And that one city has a very limited circulator route. Maybe they only have a couple stops. And that's what we go with. And maybe that's what we'll take for that community to get involved. But that was before we had responses that we received as of today from all of the cities. So now I'm a little more optimistic. We've got our board members and city council members involved and actually tracking their staff. So I'm hoping things will move a little bit quicker now in these cities. But absolutely, we will have to, there is a possibility that we'll have to come to that decision point.
And can I make a request that we see this again in 2 months? So that we see this item on our, certainly on our operations committee agenda until we're finished.
Before we go live with this comprehensive operational analysis, and even this item discreetly, or this comprehensive operational analysis in whole, this will be coming back to the committee so that you will know, and probably to the full board.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely, yeah, we will do that, staff noting that, and we can bring you an update at your next meeting. That'll be 2 months. So we can bring you an update and see where we are 2 months from now. How about we do that?
That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll get an update at the June 13th.
Yeah.
Meeting, okay. Yeah, anyone else from any other committee member before we take it out to the public? I was wondering how many parking, you said that there would be an issue maybe with parking. Parking issues parking spots being taken up. Was that going to be a big impact for these stops?
Let's stop, thank you, committee member. Thank you. Parking, in order to install bus stops, you have to have room for the bus to stop. And one of the things that transit service definitely tries to solve and resolve is single vehicle trips, and that may involve removing some parking. There are bus stops cited within this plan that was adopted that proposes to remove some parking spaces. I don't have an exact number, but yes, we are pitching to remove parking. We understand that's a sensitive issue, but I do want to stress that transit seeks to resolve that issue.
Exactly. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Sloan. And at this time, we'll open this up to the public. Public comment.
I'm seeing none.
Okay, we will go ahead and close it. And thank you, Sloan, for your report. And Carl will be seeing this come back in 2 months to this meeting.
Correct.
Committee. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to item 5, closed session.
There is none.
No closed session. Okay. With that, we'll call this meeting adjourned.
You.
And we will resume at the next meeting at PM for the regular meeting.
Mary Ann?
Okay, see you guys in a bit.